the What You Need to Know About eWIC Vendor Preparation webinar. This webinar will look at the transition from paper to plastic and how to use eWIC in the store. The objectives for this webinar are to provide a summary of how eWIC will work in the stores. We'll define integrated versus stand-beside vendors and describe the training that vendors will receive. We'll explain how the approved products list, also known as the APL, will work. Lastly, we'll identify some potential problems that could occur in the store. Transitioning to eWIC has many benefits. Participants will no longer need their WIC ID folder to shop at the store. Shoppers will only need their eWIC card and their PIN to complete an eWIC transaction. Shoppers will no longer have to purchase all their foods in one shopping trip. This will make shopping more convenient and help in situations when the vendor is temporarily out of an item. Best of all, eWIC will make the transaction more discreet, which will mean better customer service and an all-around better shopping experience. It will also eliminate conflicts between participants and cashiers. The system has the final word and is in control. In Maryland, we currently have 759 authorized vendors, and we have 270 authorized farmers. We have grocery stores of all sizes, including large chains and small chains, as well as independently owned stores and full-service grocery stores. We also authorize some pharmacies that are only allowed to provide formula and medical nutritionals for WIC. We're currently working on a solution for the farmers market. How will vendors use eWIC? eWIC will work with a point-of-sale device, and that will process the transactions. There are two different ways that a vendor's point-of-sale system will be set up to accept eWIC cards. One is called the integrated point-of-sale system. The other is called the stand-beside point-of-sale system. So let's take a look at what that means. Major grocery stores generally use an integrated POS system. These registers are programmed to accept many forms of payment, including debit cards, credit cards, SNAP, and cash. At these stores, eWIC will become one of the many payment methods that someone can use at the cash register. Stores and/or their third-party processors must be certified by eWIC, our eWIC processor, Solutran EBT Services. This step will be handled at a corporate level. The steps in an eWIC transaction may vary by store, since they have different brands of integrated POS systems. For example, some stores may require the shopper to swipe his or her eWIC card at the beginning of the transaction. Some stores may require it at the end of the transaction. Some stores will require the shopper to purchase their WIC items separately from other foods, and some will allow items to be scanned, all items to be scanned before the WIC customer uses multiple payments. We will encourage all vendors to continue to have participants separate the WIC purchases until eWIC is fully implemented and they get used to the new eWIC transaction. This will help cut down on confusion at the register. However, we cannot mandate that they have participants separate their orders. The stand-beside POS system works with the customers, works separately from the regular cash register system in the store. Basically what will happen is the transaction, all the items will be scanned on the stand-beside system, and then they will be scanned in the cash register system, the store's cash register system, if they are WIC approved items. There may be some larger chain stores that begin eWIC with stand-beside terminals and then convert to an integrated point-of-sale system later. The Maryland Vendor Unit has been working very extensively with vendors to prepare them for eWIC. An introductory eWIC vendor webinar, Maryland's eWIC Project, What to Expect, was presented and recorded in May of this year. The recorded webinar is available for viewing on the eWIC page of the Maryland WIC website. A list of FAQs stemming from the webinar is also posted to the website. Maryland WIC has been keeping vendors up to date on the progress of eWIC. A large portion of annual training this year focused on eWIC and what vendors can expect. Solutran is also working with Maryland WIC to connect with the stores. Solutran will provide the eWIC equipment or ensure that the store's integrated equipment is eWIC certified. Solutran will be mailing an eWIC monthly update to all vendors. Vendors will continue to receive information from the State WIC office about the progress of eWIC. We encourage vendors to visit our website and check for updates on eWIC. So training, how are we going to train the stores? Some of our integrated chain stores have requested the option to go live with eWIC in all of their Maryland stores after their point of sale system has been eWIC certified. Maryland WIC will allow this if they give us assurances that sufficient cashier training has been provided for processing eWIC transactions. The message we will give to shoppers will be to try and shop in their county first, but if they move or travel, they may be able to shop at one of the eWIC certified chains. Integrated vendors will be trained by their store or their POS contractor. Stand-beside vendors will be trained by Solutran. The eWIC training for stores will cover many of the same important topics that local agency staff will cover during shopper education. All stores will be required to accept both paper checks and eWIC until the last check is spent at the end of 2017. The approved product list, also known as the APL, is a database of all Maryland WIC authorized UPCs and PLUs. In case the acronyms aren't familiar to you, UPC stands for Universal Product Code. These are the barcodes you see on any packaged item. PLU stands for Price Lookup. These are the 4- and 5-digit numbers you see on the little stickers on the produce your stores sell. The APL will automatically download to the store's POS system every night, or the stand-beside terminal, whichever the store has. In eWIC, the APL was created in a combined effort by the State Nutrition and Breastfeeding Services Unit, the Vendor Unit, and the IT Unit. The APL will be maintained by the State WIC Nutrition and Breastfeeding Services Unit through UPC and PLU collection and approval. So what does the APL do? When a WIC shopper swipes their card, the POS system accesses the cardholder's benefit balance. In the APL, all of the UPCs and PLUs are tied to a WIC benefit category. For example, the UPC for an 18-ounce box of Cheerios is tied to the cereal category in the APL. If a cashier scans this item, the POS system determines the benefit, if the benefit is available for that specific UPC. In the cereal example, the cardholder would need to have at least 18 ounces of an approved cereal left in their benefit balance in order for the purchase to go through. Even after the eWIC pilot and rollout, the APL will always be a work in progress. New products come onto the market, package sizes change. Often this means new UPCs. We will need the help of vendors, participants, and WIC staff to make sure that the APL is as complete and up-to-date as possible. Vendors and WIC staff will have the ability to submit UPCs to the state when they think an item should be WIC allowable, but it's not in the APL. Vendors will have access to a Maryland APL, WIC APL website where they can upload and submit product information for WIC review. Clinic staff will report their APL issues to their supervisor and local agency coordinator, or another staff person such as the local agency vendor liaison, which will then contact the state nutrition and breastfeeding services unit for assistance. Newly approved UPCs may take up to 72 hours from the date of approval to be downloaded to the APL file and available for purchase. Let's look at some shopping tips to remember for both vendors and participants. Many of these things will be important in shopper education as well. You will hear, I don't think you can, or you will say sometimes, I don't think you can get that on WIC. Even with the APL, the authorized foods list is an important shopping and problem-solving tool for participants and cashiers. Benefit balances listed on the receipts only show what foods and amounts the cardholder can buy. The authorized foods list will still specify what container sizes and brands of foods are allowed. Sometimes an item may not ring up as WIC approved. If it doesn't, the cashier cannot override the system, even if the item should be allowed. The cashier should let the participant know that the item is not WIC approved and should call for help from their front-end supervisor if needed. Participants can also report missing products from the APL to their local agency. The UPC and product information should be reported to the Nutrition and Breastfeeding Services Unit by the local agency coordinator. A picture of the UPC, the front label, and the ingredient list will be very helpful in determining WIC approval. We've heard from other states that have already transitioned to eWIC that a very common complaint from shoppers is that they are no longer allowed to buy foods they used to buy with WIC. Here are a few reasons why an item might not ring up. The cardholder doesn't have enough in their balance. The cardholder never received the benefit. An item might not be on the APL either because it's not WIC authorized, it's the wrong size container, or it needs to be added. This requires using the authorized foods list to determine the problem. Stores may have mistakenly allowed the item in the past via an override, but the APL has the final word at the checkout now. In the eWIC world, when the network or the eWIC system goes down at a store, a eWIC transaction cannot be performed. There is no manual process for eWIC. The participant can try shopping at another store or go back to the store later.